error occurred. Some horseshit.
Well, your new link, I think, is working.
Okay.
The one called Watch Part 2.
All right. So where were we at? Oh, now I need to pull up the timestamps again as well.
So,
Okay.
I was never a fan of going conservative. It's always go out there to win. You're not,
Right, so we'll
second
play
place
that
is
for
third place
now,
and all those good sayings.
so that I am
With that
streaming.
mindset, you have to go and do it.
Refresh
There
this.
is no tomorrow. I mean, how many more cliches can I throw out there?
We're gonna use the
Probably
new
like
link.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Nothing to lose. I don't know.
But
Okay.
I don't think. I don't
Hey,
think you can
we're
do
back.
It, really, and part of it is you got. There is a
So it is a new link,
psychological
I take
pressure on
it?
each other. You know, if there's no competition, SDC can then take it easy.
It has a new title at the very least.
It does have a new title. I did
There's an
add
advantage
that.
to that. Knowing that SDC can't botch it.
That
they
definitely
have to
doesn't
get,
help, but whatever.
one of their best times, like within 3 or 4 seconds of their best times, they have to get pushed. So I think it is important for these teams to come out and do that, if not just to keep the pressure on the competition.
I think it's
so where were
very
we?
not in Pika's
Gotta find
nature.
We're watching CIA Spirit and the false start.
Oh,
So
that's
one of the
right.
things for people who are new to Buggy
right.
may not know,
Jeremy, where'd your timestamps go?
this is the preliminary day. Tomorrow would be the finals,
Oh,
but
wait, I have 'em.
the heats today were decided last week. Teams discuss. There's an order. It's kind of like a draft, but ultimately you kind of choose where you are.
I like your
Tomorrow,
description
it's
of heat
based
selection,
solely on today's
Ryan.
times.
Sort of like a draft.
You want to be
Well, yeah,
later
I
in the
guess so.
day because it heats up. You've got more time to prepare.
Why am I not
number you're
seeing
chasing.
this video?
Exactly. You know what number
on
you're chasing. So there are benefits to
YouTube
going
Live?
last.
Yeah.
So you want to.
Why are you not what now?
You want to put up the best time
I
today
do not
so that
see
you
the
can be in
link
that last
to this
spot tomorrow.
Right.
Looks like
YouTube
reposted it
Back
in
and
the
maybe
live
a
stream
little
chat.
delay, as they
I
clear
did
the-
But that
hear
doesn't
2 minutes,
help
so I
me.
think we may be getting
I
close
guess
to
I have to
going,
type
but
it out.
I'm going to confirm that.
Okay.
or
Wait, what do you
not.
mean that doesn't help
Let's
you?
go ahead and introduce the teams in this next heat.
If you
This
click
is
on the link,
ultimate
it should open up YouTube app
uh,
on your
I
phone.
guess perhaps re-rolls. We'll see
Yes,
if there's time.
but the
allotted for
phone
that.
that I
But
need
going
the
ahead
link on
and,
is
taking a
not
look
the
at this,
phone that
in
has
lane 2,
things
we're
like
going to
this.
have Spirit C. They're going to be pushing.
And you were confused about how me
Hill 1,
or
we
how
have
I was
Jay
using multiple
Gruber.
computers.
Hill 2, Randy Garcia. Hill 3, Wole Edowu.
All right.
On
Not saying
Hill
I'm telling-
4, Pierce Sinclair. And on Hill 5, Ricky Jang.
what up here?
Their driver,
After all,
So I
I
have to
went
find the
to-
right time.
And in
Wow, he's
lane
very
1,
close.
CIAA. They're pushing Equinox. Hill 1,
Equinox.
Joseph Gu. Hill 2, Kevin Wang. Hill 3, Lester Martinez. Hill 4, Vince Liu. And on Hill 5, A.J. Collins. The driver, Mariana Daly.
And just they updated the leaderboard. Pika had a 207.1 on that.
Okay. Still couple seconds clear.
All right, so we're watching for this this false start. Oh yeah.
But here we are. They're off. We haven't really
Wow,
talked
that's
too much about
definitely
CIAA, but
they're quite obvious.
You know, a force to be reckoned with as well. CIAA.
So Spirits did not make day 2.
And he's really good in the car.
Okay, so now, so here is what I was looking at before. I have questions. So first of all, my apologies,
Into the free roll here.
because
Very close.
if you are a person that I'm about to say something about who was pushing here and you're on here, I apologize. I mean nothing personal. But CIA, why did you choose this one pusher when he's clearly not fast?
This is the best of the few people we could get to push O1. That was the best way to put it. There was nobody else that was faster.
Oh, I do want to point out here, watch Spirit, because I missed her.
Spirit C
Oh,
just nicked the curb and kind of with the right back wheel. And seems to
Hey, Ben, can you rewind slightly?
Yeah.
Taking a turn. He turned very early.
back to
Their
there.
So I want to point out what I think happened.
Oh yeah, the curb.
And if anyone a little bit further back than that.
Spirit C just nicked the curb and kind of
So if we have someone from Spirit who happens to be on, I'd love to hear this. Or even better, the driver. I'd love to hear. But my assumption is she's so close behind.
Can you get closer to your mic by any chance?
Can I?
Yeah. You're
How
very,
about
you're
this?
very quiet, and yeah, that's better.
Okay. So my question is, Spirit is so close behind CIA here that I'm assuming as they reach the stop sign, the Spirit driver sees CIA start to turn right and therefore thinks, oh, it's also my turn to turn right. But it wasn't yet. She hadn't reached the stop sign.
It does seem that
But
way.
I don't know if that's true, and I'd love to know if there's someone from Spirit who's hearing this. I'd love to know the story, like if that actually distracted her, or if she didn't realize she was as close to the curb, or what the deal there was. Because I'm curious.
Nicely. Spirit coming in.
So I would assume that, I mean, not that she was following the driver ahead of her that closely. Like if you hit the back wheel, your front is gonna pull into the curb, right? So I have a feeling that she clipped it, and that just pulled her in harder, and then she managed to escape after the apex of the turn.
Again, we're looking for, if I can have a 147 at the second transition line for the 4-5, so kind of get a
Just trying to pull it a little too close.
SDCB time.
150, yeah. So we're looking like somewhere around that 2-9 neighborhood here, perhaps.
That's certainly possible. I mean, she was very, very close to the curb the entire way around.
Oh yeah.
And, CIAA is kind of one of the great stories of the last few years, and here they're coming in with a pretty good time, 2:09.4.
Very good.
They were a team. Obviously, they've been around.
One of our
for a
better
while.
times.
They've been good in the past, but
What?
they
Wait,
went through
that
a
was
culture
our
the last few
new
years.
record.
They've really kind of come on, and they've won
Right?
the last two women's heat years.
Yeah, I think that's the record.
24
Yeah.
right there for Spirit C.
That was the big check year,
with that time
or was that
unofficially
the
puts
previous
on,
year?
2
That was the previous year.
I think that was the previous year.
That's right.
I don't think this was a fast year, but I don't think it was the record.
Yeah.
Andrew
might have
says
been.
second fastest, by the way.
Second fastest,
Yeah.
thank you. There it is. Yeah, my chat is delayed. I don't know why. That's weird.
When
Yeah,
you have a
'cause it was the same
17-second hill one, you're not going to be putting up records, I don't think.
No.
Because previous year it was like a 16-second.
Records for us versus records for others.
Well,
Those are very
for
different
for
things.
the CIA records, it was.
I mean, is 17 even right for that?
Yeah, I've looked
It was
up.
a mid to high
17 on race day.
Yeah.
Maybe because she was chasing a buggy, there's a little bit of, some jockeying.
Well, to be fair, his comparison point was somebody that false started, so maybe we're misjudging it.
Yeah,
I mean, no, it was slow. This was known.
So I
This
saw
is
we
why
had,
we
we
were-
had a Kevin D join us in the voice chat for a brief moment there. Is he still around? And I'm
I
curious.
assume that's
which
Kevin Deaton sent this.
That would be my guess. I do know another Kevin D, but I don't think he joined for this.
It's impressive that she did that.
For as a preview, the hill one being slow was exactly why CIA is extremely concerned about the final seating, which we will see later.
And here we get a
But this
replay
is
of
why we
that.
pushed really hard to try to get a different seating for finals.
Was this the photo finish on finals, or am I misremembering?
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah, I remember you guys had a super fast Hill 5 guy from the Frisbee team,
Yeah.
Yes.
and he put you guys over.
Yeah, despite Ari slowing down and having a terrible rollout in the free roll.
So from that replay that they showed, it definitely doesn't look like the rear wheel caught. So my hypothesis was wrong. It does look like she noses in, and then from that the rear wheel catches and bounces around.
I honestly think she saw CIA turn and thought, "Oh, it's my turn. It's my time to turn." Also, I feel like she got distracted by being that close.
Really impressive
It's possible. Can't rule it out. All right, we are on to the final heat of day one. Again. Not again, but finally.
Inside wheel is hanging
We need to
farther
go
to the right.
to...
Yeah, exactly.
So she could have been duped into heading over there.
Wait a minute. There we go.
She was following a
Had to
narrower
find the right
So they
heat.
posted CIA's time as a 209.64.
1 SDCA.
All right.
Pushing Malice. On Hill 1, Jacob Hoffman. Hill 2, Ryan Aguirre. Hill 3, Boyao Yu. Hill 4, Brandon Foster. And Hill 5, Oliver Libber. The driver who now owns the record for men's and women's. Anna Black.
Let's see what Pike Beacon will out of here. Day 2 time?
Getting that harness stuck on the wheel.
Absolutely unbelievable.
Dangerous. Dangerous.
And here we go.
As expected, SDC is starting to take the lead.
It's only P team. It's fine.
I gotta say, this is pretty impressive from Pika B.
Squiddy.
Yep, right at 16 seconds. That's a king out of one for
Yeah, that's a great hill one.
Nice shove there.
Okay.
Shove for Pika also.
Apparently, officially, according to our own clock. No, wait. Nope, that's finals. Hold on.
What's that?
They were at the crosswalk at 25 seconds.
According to our own timing, the CIA Hill 1 during prelims was an 18.3. He got slightly faster on day 2 to 17.9. But like this is pretty low on the list of. I mean, I guess it's the best that CIA had.
At the time.
That sounds about right.
Yep.
You know, if you can give us a supply of like hill ones that are faster than 18 seconds, that would be great.
So, as Willie mentioned, we.
Oh God! As Willie mentioned, what? As Willie mentioned, what?
I think we lost your
Hang on. Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. As Willie mentioned, we had Squid on Hill 1 for Pike D. Funny story from chairman's meetings this year was Lina, I think, was the one who organized this, but Sweepstakes had quizzes where all the chairmen had to learn each other's names. And it was always really difficult because no one knew Squid's real name. And I think they did one at the beginning of the year and one at the end. And at the end of the year, they finally decided that Squid was a viable answer. But none of the chairmen knew none of the chairmen knew he was Justin. They were like, he is Squid, that is his name.
That would be a record.
We had some freshmen last year that did not know his name was Justin.
SDC appears to have done
I mean, I only know his name is Justin because I'm his TA for a class, so I have to know his name.
Right.
So.
But it wasn't just enough
There are many people from CMU who do not know my actual first name and just think my name is Barsham.
Yeah, I can see it.
Hey, Mark, what do you think
Oh yeah, I've heard people refer to you as Barsham, and I'm like, that's
right?
It wasn't bad.
I guess.
It's accurate.
Okay.
I definitely was introduced to you as Barsham.
Right, well that's the thing, is it got to the point where people are introducing me to new people as Barsham, so they just assume that's my name.
It's your name.
Got a German title back on screen.
Truly a league of their own.
And an Arnold Blue.
Alright, I'm finally going on to day 2. Let's go, baby.
I
2.5 hours at day 1.
That's right.
I feel like there has to be another drinking game item for excessive celebration after drops. We just got another like excessive expression of excitement after SDC pass drop.
That's one I wouldn't expect from SDC.
That's why I'm surprised too. No, there was just one guy who did a very exaggerated.
There may also be a discussion about that SDC heat.
I believe it's a bit of a joke.
Wow. Congratulations to SDC.
He saw Sigep doing it and just wanted to join in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, they did also just set a record, so they're probably happy that it'll stand.
Was pretty flawless. It's going to be tough to maybe best that, but like you were saying, you know.
That's a good point. Part of that may have been less about drops and more about the time.
But
yeah, I think so.
I think it would
setting a course record versus drops. I'm gonna say drops.
I am of the mindset that excessive celebration after drops should absolutely be on the drinking game.
But here, like looking at the condition of the chute, like it is a big downgrade from last year. Yeah. So to see them put up that kind of time this year, like I'm and the fact that they
so I'm seeing myself on camera here. Yeah. And I'm turning and looking at myself in the mirror right now, and oh man, things have changed.
I felt the same thing
Andrea,
when I rewatched
welcome.
the doc. Hey, you made it.
Andrea's here. She's done with her exam, everyone.
Pretty safely assured.
Congrats.
Andrea, did you fail your exam? Think about it this way: if you failed, you can come back for next race day as a student.
She told me she thinks she got a 50, but she needed a 40. So I think she's okay.
I mean, there's a chance.
Oh my god, I'm hearing double of you guys.
All right, so then the next one is this video it starts with.
Andrea, if you're watching on YouTube, you might want to switch to watching from Ben on Discord, so that way you don't get a double audio.
Also that.
I think you're on the wrong one, Ben.
Is this the wrong one? Yes. This is the wrong one. Which one is this? This one is nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, this was the video that started at 8 a.m. on Friday, only to not have racing happening anytime soon. So then they started it, and then they were doing this, and then they, I don't know, pressed some wrong buttons and killed the stream, and then started a new one.
Oh, this was the year I had the banner up, and it looked like utter crap. Forgot about that.
I believe.
I kind of like it.
This was.
Oh, I fixed it for day 2. It was...
that you had the banner up, and it looked like utter crap. A year, not the year.
That's fair. That's fair. I did have it up a couple years, but I want to say that this was the first year that I had it up because we only had the backdrop up last year, and that was definitely after having a very sad, like day 1 tying that I did. It just got all crumpled.
Hold on a sec. This is wrong. Yeah.
What's wrong?
Dave's saying it's correct. This is 2018, not 2017.
That makes a lot more sense. That makes a lot more sense.
Yes, because that's when you had the crappy banner up.
Yes.
2018, they accidentally, when they started the finals file, they accidentally put it in the 2017 folder.
Right.
So I believe all of day 2 should be in day 2 for 2017.
So I've got to go back here.
Yeah, because right now you're in Buggy 17 day. Yeah. Okay.
2019. Wait, is that it? No, that's 2018. There it is. That's right, because they split it into 2 for 17 for whatever reason. So is this time going to be right then? It doesn't look like it will be.
But now you have to fast forward a little while because
yeah, because it's just
there were not exhibitions and races were delayed a long time.
Yeah, Jeremy has some times in here. He has a time at 1 minute. Oh wait, no, that was still. Oh, you know what? I think he didn't realize that it was a different year.
Yeah, that may have been the time.
I think
2018.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Okay.
Let's put it this way: Thunderstruck is definitely not on the course in 2017.
Through the chute
there.
Oh,
here we go. Here we go.
But getting started, getting things underway on these finals.
Oh crap! How accurate?
Go back further.
Okay, we're finding it. We're getting there. There we go. All right.
Good. All right. So welcome to day 2, everyone,
That's
and
right,
this is the first ever autonomous roll.
First ever autonomous roll?
First ever race day autonomous roll.
Race day autonomous roll. Okay, I gotcha. I thought there was one the previous year.
Nope. This is the one. This not only is this the first, it is also the current course record holder.
There we go.
Which I was very convinced would be broken in 2019, and was kind of shocked to find out that it wouldn't be.
Right. Also, yes, Dia, to answer your question, yes, absolutely.
Hey, my dog was an unofficial member of sweepstakes this year.
That's right. Oh, I need to move my mouse.
He came to a couple of rolls and even rode in the safety car.
Your dog is an extension of you.
He is.
Getting started, getting things.
I mean, I don't know if that's unofficial is the right way to put that. I think, you should probably make him. They used to have a category called youngsters. I think you could make your dog the youngster this year.
We called him the safety dog.
Bonk, bonk, bonk.
That seems to be a problem for them.
So that is impact number 1. But don't worry, Transistor can take it. Keeps going. But wait.
Pause it here real quick. So Mark is trying to set up his thing right now. So this is his setup on the side, and that's Mark, while somebody else is calling the shoot. for the morning.
Continuing on.
He tried as hard as he could to get it working. It did not.
This is impact number 2 and was a much bigger problem. The good news is, again, the Buggy can take a hit. The problem is, now it's going really slow.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
Which takes this from what would have probably been a 3 to 4 minute time to a 6 minute time. Because the one thing I will point out here is a good way of being able to tell is she's going to try and catch up to it and give it a push, but I think she gives up and lets it go. No, she gives it a push.
Yeah, she gets up.
I can't remember.
She has too much adrenaline to not do it. If I remember correctly, that is the same girl who we had somebody drop out last minute for design comp panel that we had, and so I just found her and I was like, "Hey, would you like to be on a panel?" And she just sort of looked at me like, "Yes." I'm like, great, you're gonna be on in 20 minutes.
Danny Kwan.
That's Danny Kwan. Yeah, Danny Kwan.
Yeah. I feel a little bad for her, but she was a good sport, which was great.
She was Robo Buggy chairman for 2 years? 2 years?
At least.
Maybe 3? At least.
Let's see how a Buggy can do it.
So, the first impact didn't have much of didn't create much of an issue. Second impact created a huge issue, but the Buggy could still roll. The third and final impact here is really what's going to create the 6 minute long time, because
it gets stuck. And it loses its GoPro.
A little bit of overcorrection there.
Also lost its GoPro.
Yeah. Lost a mess. Doesn't count. Disqualified.
Ironically, the fact that it gets stuck in a hay bale, which is actually not needed when you don't have a driver in the Buggy.
2 and 5/8 or something. 7/8.
Lost a mess. You got it. That's right, Dave.
This is an early turn.
That hay bale there, by the way, for those of you who don't remember, that is there to stop people from hitting those stairs. I don't believe it was that stairs. I think it was the second set of stairs that Spirit crashed into back in 2015.
A little wide, but here they go.
Yeah, that's correct. And they always put it in the middle of the stairs as opposed to in front of the stairs. And I've definitely fixed it a number of times at rolls. Because it doesn't do any good when it's past the stairs already.
The best was the week after the crash when a new hay bale got added, but instead of putting it on the street, they put it on top of the curb.
Right.
It was to cover
no idea which organization would be at fault for that. No clue.
No idea.
Yeah, certainly not Pike. Never.
Absolutely not.
Pike has never once been a problem with the bales. Not in my life.
Pike is really a picture-perfect organization. Get down to it.
All bets are off.
Robo Buggy now coming up here.
Andrea or anyone CIA, if you have any opinions on that.
Does anyone have the picture of the time when the Pike side of the bales were stacked too high instead of too deep?
I have a picture of that. I don't know where it is, but I have that picture.
Pretty incredible accomplishment right here. I know Robo Buggy's
lost in translation.
Brilliant.
I have to say, this year, Rob and Chris were both really good sports about the bales, because every single day there was something wrong, and like,
part of Robo Club.
They were always really good sports about it. So to their credit,
they came up in the podcast, right?
It did. It did. They were prepared before chairman's every day. They were like, all right, what's wrong with them today?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to hear more about that, go check out the podcast. I believe it's still the most recent episode, although there should be a new one coming up soon. It is hysterical. The discussion when they get to the hay bales had me on the floor.
They would literally pull the truck up to our morning chairman's meetings. Like, they would not get out of the truck. They would stop at chairman's, be like, what's the problem? And then go down and fix it.
If the hay bale wasn't there, probably would have kept going.
It was outstanding.
But what if the hay bales were done correct the first time?
Saying it, Bobby, I was going to.
It's a fairly new hay bale on the course, but it's been there for a few years. So
here they come approaching the finish line here. Maybe a sub 6 minute time.
Let's see. Hill 5.
I feel like they could have been sub 5 minutes with a little bit more effort from the back hills here.
That's all right.
You don't think he can go faster than that?
Autonomously driven buggy.
Or you do think he can go faster than that? I don't know.
He looks like he's ready to just start flying. He's holding himself back. Can't do that on day 2.
The first ever self-driven buggy completed.
You can see how wet the roads are.
Robo Buggy did not break the 6-minute mark. It was 6 minutes, 0.82 seconds. Which bums me out. And I was so sure that they were going to break that record in 2019 that I kind of ignored it. And then they put up like a 6:15 in 2019. But they'll get there. Someone will break the 6-minute mark for autonomous buggies at some point.
Our next heat will be an autonomous buggy.
I wouldn't use the word effort with these backhill pushes.
All right. So we got a little bit of competition.
Dave, speaking truth.
Congratulations to the Robo Club guys and girls over there coming back down to the.
All right, let's see if we can get to
excellent job with that buggy.
Another actual race. So how far ahead do we have to jump here?
Well, the next one's Atlas, and it's not far.
Okay. Oh, and here they
do
the drop test.
See Robo Buggy attempt drops?
Do we get to watch it? They're working on it. Look like they're trying to set up.
I believe.
This is how they take over. This is the
Or did they already do it here?
End.
It's hard to tell. They're sort of in the middle of things.
We do not see their first attempt at drops, which they failed, but they do try a second time. And we do see the second attempt.
Buffering.
So you can probably actually go a little forward from where they were all sitting around.
All this jumping around. We should see if we can find this footage so we can chop it up properly if we ever do this again.
Well, we'll get around to that at some point.
Yeah. So I understand it. CMU TV has all their footage. They just forgot where it was. And one of their alums came in and was like, oh, it's over there.
We do have the prelims as a full day on YouTube, with multi-view.
Oh, right. I mean, that must have been one that I uploaded, but I don't remember doing it at all. Oh, come on.
I think this is the first time I've seen a spinning circle that isn't your computer crashing.
Alright, we're back. Okay. I just needed a refresh. Here we go.
There is something about that.
Oh, there's Atlas going. Okay. Jump back a little bit. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna let it play from here. Look at that team! Those are all Robo Buggy people. That's crazy.
So we'll have women's, men's, and robots.
This is how
It's
they
bigger than
take
most
over.
buggy organizations that I've seen, I think.
Of the end.
Me blacking out and uploading a multi-view checks out. Yeah, that's possible.
It is. It's one of the best parts of buggy.
I just got somebody from Robo Buggy down here saying that.
Interestingly, I do not see video on Discord anymore. I only see it.
Thanks, Elon.
I can support that. I switched to watching on YouTube.
Oh, that's weird. Oh, what happened there?
It looks like Atlas is lined up in the middle of the 6. We got 5 seconds till the Atlas autonomous roll attempt.
Should be back on Discord now.
So I do want to clarify, because if you listen to me in the actual broadcast, we're talking about how Atlas is rolling fully autonomous. I think they did attempt to. Like, some of the early stuff here definitely looks fully autonomous. But we did get confirmation yesterday that Atlas's roll was not fully autonomous.
Given how straight they're going here, that's
it's actually it's not here that I think there's a problem. In fact, I think at this point they are fully autonomous. I think what happens is you'll see very soon, they will crash, and I think after that they switched.
So Quasar was a buggy that was run
because the buggy rolls a little too smoothly through the free roll.
Right. Ooh. They have the shell on this time too.
Well, had it on.
Oh, she doesn't know what to do.
I think it probably comes up a little bit too fast for them, and they can't see it.
At one point, the shell was in fact fully attached.
At one point, it looks like they forgot to tape it on.
Two-piece shell. They're gonna put top back on. Hopefully, try to get it maybe back on the course and see if it'll keep rolling.
And there's Ben. He just ran the hill 1.
Losing some major
What's that?
Ben Warwick there. I mean, he had just pushed
right.
that hill 1, and then he ran up to get the buggy going.
Yeah, you got it going again.
Again, I know nothing.
Absolutely, yeah. That's he's probably out of breath there.
With that low of a profile,
So now you see how the buggy is following the line and somewhat properly doing things. I mean, I guess it's not really properly doing things.
I like how the pusher is still the hill 2 and still ready to go again.
Has to figure out a new way to maneuver, and especially to come across the street. It's got the yellow lines in the middle. It's got the white.
Wait, were the axles always like that on Quasar?
No, I don't know why they decided to put a different size wheel on it.
It does look to be back on path, although slowing down.
It's a mystery.
A little bit of wiggle right there in the free roll, but staying online.
So as you can see here, the buggy has. I mean, it took a while, but the buggy crossed over to the other side of the street. If there's one thing I've learned now about fully autonomous buggies, it's that they kind of weave back and forth across the entire width of the street when they're rolling autonomously. So the fact that it's sticking to the inside here, and like, I mean, even if you look at Robo Buggy in the last one, it was kind of weaving back and forth a bit. It just wasn't really fast enough for it to be all that noticeable.
Well, it was clear that they had an operator in the car, whether or not they were just watching or actually doing things. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if the two buggies.
But yeah, I can definitely confirm that that axle was not at that angle until probably this year or the year earlier.
I mean, all right. So Dave Singh is asking. So both Robo Buggy and Atlas technically DQ'd. Yes, but under the rules, there is basically no way for an autonomous buggy not to DQ because the rules say you can't have any transmitting equipment inside the buggy.
Don't the rules specify, using them to communicate with the driver? But there's no driver here, so maybe it's okay.
Does the computer not count as the driver?
It looked like there may actually be a face either drawn on or something inside.
I think drivers are defined to be like people in the bylaws.
A student's activity fee paying.
Sounds like another DQ for not having a human driver.
That's fair.
I'm pretty sure.
I will also add the nose definitely used to be more flat. Quasar's been through some stuff. Seen better days. But that paint job by Alex May, top-notch paint job.
We're on a hill 4 and 4:24, so this could be the new record-setting time.
Yeah, this is actually going to be pretty close between the two squads. 4:35 here in this hill 4 again. Just going through some exhibitions.
If I had a photographic memory of the rules, I would try and find the thing about equipment inside the buggy, but I don't know which section it's in.
It's on page 68 of the bylaws. Any device that allows the driver in the buggy communication with individuals outside the buggy and provides information to a driver that otherwise could not be known by the driver are illegal to use on race day rolls. Examples are headsets, walkie-talkies, telemetry systems, and video display units.
5:15:48. Atlas.
There you go.
How did you get that so quickly?
By a minute.
I have a copy of the bylaws on a shortcut on my computer, right? And I just.
I guess my real question was, how did you get to? I guess device would have been the right word to look for. I tried a whole bunch of other certain words, and none of them hit anything in the bylaws.
I searched communication.
That would have been good too. Really, any of those things would have worked.
I love these trucks. Sorry.
Apex Women's A, Apex Women's C, although they've never rolled a C. They've
Trucks full of drivers.
We're looking at the drivers. They've hopped in the lead and follow trucks, and they're going down to the chute.
This guy in orange is Ben Brown. He was the one who set up the the speed trap right at the monument there. He's been running that for the last few years. Pike alum from a number of years ago at this point.
Wait, did Atlas already finish the race?
Yeah, we saw the end.
I was busy looking at the bylaws. I was not paying attention.
Well, whose fault is that?
All of the ladies are in the back of the truck.
Can we get to 5 hours? I hope not.
Stopping up at that crosswalk, I think that the white paint actually gets very slick in the wet.
Right, so we're gonna keep skipping ahead.
Looked pretty friendly there, though.
I can't hear what they're actually saying on the broadcast, but I'm assuming they're saying what I'm gonna say now, which is that they sent the cars down so that the drivers can look at the roads. But it's a while. It's an hour plus before you get to the first women's heat.
It is, yeah. I'm just skipping ahead to make sure I don't skip anything. But yeah, it looks like Jeremy's times are accurate now. So we're gonna jump right up to what he gave me.
Oh yeah. So at a certain point, they realized the roads were still too wet because it rained again Saturday morning. So they canceled exhibitions. There were 4 exhibitions scheduled. They were gonna be some good ones. The first exhibition was SDC versus Fringe, in what I can only assume was SDC-E versus Fringe E. The second one was a Spirit versus Spirit Battle of the Sexes, men's and women's. Don't know exactly how that was going to break down, but that's what they said. The third was CIA versus Apex, where one of the CIA teams was faculty. And the fourth was a grudge match. Well, quote-unquote grudge match. I think this got to the point where people didn't really understand what the grudge match was between Fringe, SDC, and SIGAP.
Yeah.
So, as it is in real life, Beyonce.
And so what we're watching now is the only re-roll that happened before the races. Well, I guess that's not true.
Nope.
This is kind of the only re-roll. This is the only one that was like a re-roll. The other one is just
get into top 6. They could find their way up into the top 10. We're just behind.
But yeah, this was a mix between SIGAP Women's B and Pega Men's C. But I don't know. You'd think after an hour plus delay, hour and a half delay, you'd be ready to go when you started. But apparently,
So
no, we weren't.
I missed it because I realized that I was muted. But the Fringe SDC was actually it was SDCE versus Fringe drivers, and our drivers were really excited about it. They had been planning on trying to get DQ'd in every way possible. So they had planned out like 7 different intentional DQs. They were having way too much fun with it.
That's amazing. I would have loved to see that.
We were very disappointed when it got canceled.
Oh, no question. We're always disappointed when exhibitions get canceled. They're so much fun.
Well, the shoot is the big turn of the whole course,
and it gives the drivers another chance to
go.
The
reason we didn't got to the line here was we ended up having a late start and then just didn't get front wheel in time. It was as simple as that. We were kind of finicky with its prep, so we gave our head mechanic a lot of shit for that one.
And that was a very good free roll time for them. They were
Yeah,
59 to 1 minute free.
Didn't it happen again with Pike C in 2019 where their women's team didn't make it out to the line, but it was on
our women's C in 2019 was supposed to be like a driver's heat. That was kind of a joke, and we scratched it like the week before and just never got to the broadcast. Our women's B, there was miscommunication with sweepstakes how much time they had, so they thought they had 10 minutes, but they only had 8 minutes, so they were not ready to go in time. They got the one morning in there where we're normally at 3 minutes away from starting, so we ended up making their way out.
I was going to say, I feel like Pike's women's teams have started to develop a rep for not making it out to the line.
250,
yeah, team told everyone that I'm not sure why they stole the list for bowling, but yeah, B was that was a mistake.
Beyonce looking at us there. I think it makes all of us feel a little special to have Beyonce out on the course.
Wait, where was Pike? Where was the Pike truck located before Booth got moved to the same location as Buggy?
Before it was like right at the beginning of Hill. Oh my! How?
Can you rewind that? Well, she's clearly hurt, but also that was a missed push bar.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Pike's truck being pretty far from the start line definitely doesn't help in terms of making it to the line on time because at least the years I was on sweepstakes, it was like annoyingly far for me to get to do spot safeties.
Yeah. So I forget what happened, but there was the year that they reassigned it, Pike ended up getting somehow had the last pit.
Oh no.
And were as far away from the line as possible means ended up having really poor communication. So having a lot of distance versus terrible organization did not always create the best recipe for success.
Yeah, was that 2015 or 2016 that they moved Carnival to or moved a booth? I don't remember.
It was before Race Day 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the year that Pike was fished. So that's almost
that was
definitely why they got last
that is
pick,
why.
unfortunately.
That's what I thought it was, but I wasn't 100% sure, and I didn't want to be wrong.
100% sure that's what it was.
So,
because there was this, I remember this chairman's, there was like, okay, we need to allocate the truck placements. And everybody was like, oh, we already have our positions, you can stay where you are. And then it was like, okay, Pike, it's your turn to go pick. Where would you like to be? And there was only one spot left to choose.
The buggy can get away from you.
Yeah.
Hill 5 is flat, and you give
that then ended up being last year. We weren't having anymore, so they ended up driving the U-Haul over a sign and just taking that spot. So it's an interesting decision, but it ended up in my favor.
Yesterday.
Yeah, it's kind of weird seeing these more recent years because I'm so used to seeing the older races where you see like Sig Ep, Sig New, and Spirit just facing the start line next to Maggie Mo, which was much more compact and allowed for more trucks to be close to the line. Yeah, with Booth being there, there's some sort of like electrical wiring issue or concern about that, or fire safety concern.
It's a fire truck. You have to have a fire lane to be able to actually get a truck into Midway, which is why the trucks can't be parked off the curb like they used to be.
But yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, move Booth back.
Yeah.
We don't want
it. The excuse of, oh yeah, we couldn't get the front wheel on when you had literally an hour and a half.
It wasn't couldn't, it was didn't.
Fair enough.
As long as we make that distinction.
there really was excuse. It just simply did not.
For SDCB and about a 22.5.
And there was a senior driver too. It wasn't there.
Oh no.
SDC is doing that on their C team, showing off there.
Speaking of not making it to the line on time, I believe we're watching that controversial FDCBC reroll right now.
So can someone explain this? Why this was a reroll? Like what exactly?
You missed it.
Was
I think you got to go rewatch the stream when this race comes up.
Yeah, I can explain it too because I was head judge this year, and I wasn't on the call yet because I was busy. But basically, I believe the countdown clock was misaligned with what the speaker was announcing or something along those lines. Basically, the countdown clock was not correct. It was like off by 4 or 5 seconds. And then basically they petitioned for a reroll and then got it off of that.
Right. So this race happened after an incident, a spin in the chute, and the way that the races are set up is that it's not an actual time that they're set to happen. It's all based on when the countdown timer does it, or the person doing the countdown says it, right? And that's why we have them do the 1 minute, 5 minute, 2 minute calls so that people are aware of where the clock is actually, and not have to necessarily rely on a schedule that's out of date. Typically or the standard procedure is to start the countdown when the clock hits 0. As opposed to timing it such that when the clock hits 0, it's ready, set, go. So that adds a few seconds every year, right? Yeah, and Molly's putting it out there.
Yeah, basically they were like, I think
point's helpful, yeah.
They missed like the 5-second DQ by like 1 or 2 seconds basically, but the speaker started announcing like the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 with the clock.
Now, in particular for that heat, what had happened is that everything had been getting delayed. They announced a 5 minute break, and this is what Jeremy was talking about before. However, we'd already lost 2 minutes over the course of the morning. So by the time it got to that heat, instead of it being 5 minutes from when the incident happened, it was 5 minutes from when the heat normally would have happened. So it actually happened only 3 minutes after, not 5 minutes. So it happened 2 minutes earlier, and they weren't able to adjust. And whoever was calling it at the time was not calling the 5 minute, 2 minute, 1 minute
Absolutely
calls.
great times from both teams.
So there's a whole mess of issues that happened.
How did this happen before technology? Like in like the 80s, how did timing work and the system of passing information?
Well, so as I understand it, it's been the same setup. Well, no, I don't know about that one. So the previous setup was there were little RFID chips that were in the. You would place it as far forward in the buggy as you could, because that was what read your time. It wasn't an outside source; it was an inside signal. That there was a mat on the ground, which you'll see in the older videos, and it was a pretty sizable mat. Like it was softer, but it definitely gave the buggies a bump, and that's what covered the actual sensor on the ground that they laid out every time. But the timing itself was a little more weird in that the sensor that they had wasn't actually set to the gun that they used. And they used an actual gun that had caps in it. And there was a lot of discussion when we started using the timing system to still use an actual gun because it gives a lot of adrenaline. It's it's pretty regular practice to use an actual gun to really give people the bang to go, right? Whereas the beep is not as exciting, I guess would be the thing. And there are some systems where you can tie a gun to the timing system, like the hammer hits the button, and so it's synced up like that. But before that, it was just the counter had the gun, and there was a timer standing next to them, trying to match as close as they could. So they would wait for the gun to go off, and then they hit the button. They would try and sync it up as best they could, but it was all manually done. And then everybody understood that it was sort of not the best system out there, but it was sort of what we had. And then we had the 2009 or 2008, 2009 races, where the difference was 0.15 seconds, and we're like, we need something better. We're getting too close. And that's sort of what really kicked off the BAA to sponsor the new system that first year.
As we mentioned during our earlier broadcast, those will be their final time.
But there are still backup timers who do that. They start at the bottom of the hill, or they listen to the radio at this point and start the timer as close as they can, and then stop the timer as close as they can at the finish. And that is the backup in case our timing fails.
Yeah, I didn't know that they existed, but there are, I think, 6 backup timers. So it's a lot of work.
I think only 2 or 3, at least at the finish line.
SDCC is really right there on the cusp of getting a trophy.
I would say it's often interesting and weird to think how Buggy existed before like CMU TV, before the Jumbotrons, before the new timings. Like there's so many things where it's like, how did you even do this before?
Right. Well, I mean, things like the CMU TV, they just didn't, right? There was no broadcast aside from the WRCT radio broadcast, which was better and worse depending on the year, depending on how much they knew about it. Yeah, I mean, it's come a long way. It's crazy to think that my freshman year there were no Jumbotrons. Well, that was the first year there were Jumbotrons or something like that. That was 2008.
It's crazy to think my senior year there were no Jumbotrons.
Right.
My entire 4 years, I had no idea what was going on, and I don't know how I did it.
Yeah.
Dave Singh asking in the chat why Connor's wearing gloves here. The answer is because it's freaking cold. It was like 30.
It was very cold on day 2.
This shows that fraternities are really pushing their women's.
Oh, it warmed up by men's finals. I'll put it that way.
Of Buggy at CMU, this was originally a Greek sport. The independents didn't come.
It warmed up, but it was still like 60.
All right, we got 1 minute till the start of this race.
Here we go.
So let's go ahead and get the roster.
It did, and conveniently, if you're reading the History of Buggy series, I actually put the weather in the article. So it was actually I think we were both wrong. The temperature ranged from 43 to 48 between on the morning on Saturday. So it was 43. In fact, I think it went the opposite direction. I think it was 48 early and then dropped to 43 by noon.
The driver is Sophie Halpert.
And it's great to see Sophie out again this year driving. Last year, if you remember, she had a very, very scary crash in Hydra, but is back up on the horse and rolling fast on their A-team.
So this is the first actual women's finals heat. If I can find in my notes where this is.
I really like that start line camera that we have this year. We can see how quickly the teams get off the line. And this year, both of those pushers were just a half second after the beep going.
A pretty impressive Hill 1 here for Fidel, who did not put up a particularly fast time on day 1, but is beating Sigem up Hill 1.
But it was very close, kind of within that range. It'll be interesting to see if they can hold on, get a
Of course, that does not last
about
into Hill 2, and
over
Sigem
the top of the
takes
hill
the
there,
lead.
so right about where SDC's
Probably a good thing, because Kraken is definitely a faster buggy than Argo.
A little bit of a lead out there.
Very late push off there. Slows the buggy down a bit. And you can see Argo catching up now because she pushed off a little bit early.
Now, this was a year we saw a lot of teams race out of lane 3 rather than 2. Dia, you might remember, or someone else.
Yeah, no,
think
I
there was a
remember
big
this.
pop
Although I
at the
think it
bottom
was
of
the
2.
same. I think it was the same last year. A lot of teams preferred 3 to 2 just based on the positioning of the potholes.
Absolutely. Kraken shown its speed over
I think a lot of it was teams were just rolling out of 3 during rolls, and that's where their drivers were comfortable. And there were some teams that
was definitely
2, some teams,
110, 111 from Fidel.
and there was just kind of a team by team basis. But that's just interesting to see that on a day 2 heat team.
So, it's interesting you say that, and yes, I think there are definitely certain teams, and especially I think starting this 2017 is because of the rough patch at the top of Hill 2. So teams had different angles coming into that and getting around it. But it's interesting you bring that up because I always assumed, and I think probably everyone in this chat right now assumes that the fastest team goes in lane 1. But if you go back prior to 2004, the top teams differed in what lane they chose. Like Pika always chose lane 2. So Pika A in the last heat of the day always came out of lane 2.
Pika just likes to be different.
Typically chose lane 3. It varied by team, and I think what happened was there was a massive pothole in lane 2 on Hill 1 that kept growing and growing and growing, and by the time we reached 2009, it got so big that you couldn't actually run a buggy in lane 2. They had to drop to 2 buggies because it was a safety risk. 2010 it got repaved so that no longer became an issue. But by that point, all the top teams had just come out of lane 1 because that was the cleanest lane to roll in. So everyone practiced out of it. Everyone rolled, so the top teams were all just sticking with that one. There were fewer potholes. When the roads got repaved, I think it had been a full school generation between the last time anyone used lane 2 or 3 as an A team. So everyone just kind of assumed, oh, this is what we do, so we stay with lane 1. But I'd love to see someone in the future decide, oh, maybe lane 2 is actually better for us.
Yeah, the other part of picking lane 1 was pretty notably the lanes ended in Hill 2 a little earlier than they should, like the lane lines ended before they should, as set in the rules. So really, you had a bit of an advantage because you could start to cut over into what should still be lane 2 and 3 from lane 1. That's been fixed in some of the more recent years, but at least in my early years in buggy, like 2012, 2013, 2014, like lane 1 was definitely the lane to be in, just because those two lines were too short.
It's still painted like that now, actually, where they end a little earlier than they should. We were actually planning on fixing it this year, and we had started to do so before spring.
Nope, that is something that Ico alum were texting
Dave
me.
Conley. Dave Conley and I have had many conversations about it.
Yeah, no, the day I was the sweepstakes, I had a text from Dave Conley specifically about lane 2 because it does give such a to the team in lane 1. But yes, I think that's a great point.
I mean, this year it was more of a, we were getting that patch at the top of the hill repaved, so we were going to have to repaint everything anyway. So we were like, all right, let's just do it according, like, by the rules if we're going to have to redo it anyway. So that was supposed to be fixed this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's no secret that it's of who it is, because he posts on our pictures every year of these lane lines are wrong. So it is very public that we all know who it is.
Also, it
if you're paying
was just
attention.
mentioned on the broadcast, the thing that I mentioned earlier where our Hill 1 dropped like a second and a half between day 2 and day 1, they just mentioned she was looking way faster. So I think that's correct. I think on the first day, our Hill 1 was just slower than she had been.
And I would like to point out on Fringe there, when she pushed the buggy, she pushed it early, which is good. It's what you want to do. The buggy wasn't quite going straight, so she didn't get the optimal push off.
So her time on day 2 was a 20.3.
At this point, they're you know, just out for the run and hopefully putting up a solid time, but likely out of the
103 and a half.
It's the 8th fastest time total.
Oh boy.
That includes prelims and finals. That was the
okay.
fastest finals time. On day 1, scrolling. Oh, there she is. 23.7. So yeah, a second and a half faster.
Second and a half almost.
Yeah. Which the 23.7 was slower than Fringe B.
Hill 3, so it had some nice momentum still rolling.
Well, this can't.
No, I believe it. She was beating herself up about this one because it was her first race day, and she actually sped up a ton on Hill 2 and then started training a lot the next year and ended up becoming a Fringe push captain.
Sorry, when I said this can't be right, it was because I saw 23.5 was Mary Garrett.
Oh, that's not right.
Yeah, I think
that's just wrong.
You put the wrong info in there because we already have 2 other Mary Garretts that are both 19.4 and 19.8. So
that's just incorrect. Yeah, no, Gia, she was beating herself up a lot over the hill one time. Went back, dropped a second and a half on day 2, and then became our regular push captain.
25-second Hill 5 standard. Looking very good here today. Cut a lot of time off, I think.
And here we go. Wow, very nice. Got to have that hand on the push bar and coming across it at 2:38.
It's a really zoomed in camera.
Great camera angle.
Yeah, that Hill 5 was Michaela Vicino, who was our push captain for like 2 years.
Apexy is doing well as well.
I'm looking at these Hill 1 times. I mean, Mary Garrett is a solid, point, anywhere from half a second to a second faster than Katie Liston, who is
she's got faster time than some of the men's pushers.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, so Mary, then it's between half a second and a second back to Katie Liston, and then it's another second and a half back to the next people.
Hey, look who it is.
FCCB.
That's me.
Amelia Clark. Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyways, very nice race from both squads, cutting some time off.
Wait, Amelia Clark was Apex Beast. That's Andre is going to get upset if we keep mixing up Amelia Clark with other people.
Okay, so maybe that's the problem. Is I think our roster is backwards. So this says Amelia Clark is women's A, but you're saying she was women's B?
Yes, Camille Williams was Apex.
Okay.
Amelia has the really curly hair, and Camille has these like massive thighs. She's so built.
Unbelievable time.
I
would have been happy to
see them. I am admittedly not looking at pictures of them. I'm just seeing a.
Yeah, but it's like to someone who knows the two of them, it's really easy to see like in person.
That's fair. So I think that means that our database was wrong, and we should.
Camille is in the camera right now. Actually, if you look to the bottom left corner in the black hoodie, that's Camille right there.
Wow, who's that behind Equinox?
Don't talk about it.
You see Reed calling you out on the YouTube chat? Andrea, why aren't you a faster Hill 1?
No, I have closed the YouTube chat. The reason is because I believe this might have been my 4th ever Hill 1.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I remember you came out to push practice. It's like, oh, that's a pretty good time. And then you did it again, and it's like, oh, that's an even better time. And then it was race day.
Yep. So we didn't have any transition practice really between me and Hannah. But look at how good that pickup from her is. She's just class.
She knows what's up.
Who's flying, and here she goes. She's sending it down into the free roll.
Very nice.
Very light push there, though.
Hills right there out of CIA, looking pretty good compared to yesterday.
And Beacon following behind.
For the record, we had your hill one time at 22.4.
Okay.
Really good in the free roll right there.
That's, you know, some change behind Mary Garrett, but...
Brian, when you say we, where are you getting this from? Is this from the timing thing?
It is. So
Okay.
so take all of this with a grain of salt.
Well, I think these ones were the years where we started to retime them and actually get more reasonable and accurate numbers.
Yeah, these are times that I think from actually watching the video after the fact and pressing stop and start. So they're not they're reasonably good. It's a better question. I mean, we've got there's random things in there, and it depends on camera angles and things like that. So it's not.
I would like to mention on the Hannah's Hill 2 push off. When she's moving so fast, it just looks like she's pushing off light. And this is from Hannah in the YouTube chat. And I'm inclined to believe her.
Yeah, that Hill 3 pickup was better than yesterday.
Yeah, I'll say there's generally two types of Hill 2 pushers. There's the really fast people that don't look like they can push that hard.
Right.
And then there's the really strong people that aren't that fast at running but give a huge shove. That's usually the two.
And then you've got people like Brian Corey, SDC's 2016 Hill 4, who's like both.
Yeah, he did some Hill 2s in 2014, but yeah, Jordan couldn't beat him out. He actually had it.
From 4 to 5, Sarah gave a great shove, and she was able to get the Hill 5 a good window before she had to start actually pushing the buggy herself.
Yeah, Hannah said in the chat that I have a really strong push-off, which I believe is my only merit as a Hill 1 pusher, because I really run out of gas by the time I get to the transition, but I think I have enough strength to like make it look like I'm not dying.
Yeah, that's a big part of how fast you can cover Hill 2. It's just how strong is the shove from the Hill 1 person. Since Hill 2 is such a short
Right
hill,
about the same time that they put up yesterday, and
longer
here comes Sunkiss coming up the back hills.
Yeah, it looks like they were a .06.
I think Dave saying for the article had told me that it was almost the exact opposite for him pushing Fringe D, because the Fringe chair that year told him he didn't want it, that the chair didn't want to be burned on the Hill 2 on the transition, so Dave had to baby his 1-2 transition. So it could cause problems for his chair.
Also, I want to say, Hannah, thanks for actually joining us and not talking through other people this time.
Welcome, Hannah.
This time so far today with Equinox?
With women's, yes.
Again, Hannah Linus really sent it up there on Hill 2. Give him a great push off.
What are your thoughts
All
there
right.
Um,
on? Because it looks
What's the next one?
nicer on the front.
I like this because I'm in the frame, but I so clearly have no idea what the fuck is going on. Like, I'm looking at this drop test going, what's happening here?
So how many times had you been doing buggy stuff before race day, Andrea?
So Hannah texted me about 3 weeks before race day and was like, have you been recruited yet? And I was like, for what? She was like, Buggy. I was like, what's that? So she asked me to show up to a push practice, basically just like show up here at 11 p.m., whatever. I came out to a Hill 4 push practice, pushed probably like 3 or 4 times on Hill 4. They were like, you'd probably be really good on Hill 1. I came to truck weekend, pushed on truck weekend, and then pushed on race day.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I could see why you'd be confused there.
Yeah, I had no idea what was happening.
And now you see how we get most of our Hill 1 pushers, aside from the 1 year that I did it.
Yeah. Also, this is Camille right now on Apex A.
Yeah, well, now that you pointed her out standing on the sideline, like, that's clearly her.
Yeah.
So I do want to apologize for incorrectly identifying. I don't remember whose photo I showed or who I identified, but on Instagram, I apologize for identifying the wrong soccer player.
You just you switched up 2 tall brunettes on the soccer team. A very, very often mistake, common mistake.
Interesting to see if that had some ramifications.
Did I get the soccer photo right? Out of curiosity.
Yes, you got the soccer photo right, the buggy photo wrong.
That makes me feel a little better. I admittedly had to try and match people up with numbers, and I think people's numbers changed from time to time, from year to year.
No, Camille's been 23 since her freshman year, I think.
Okay, it may not have been her, but there were other people that I was.
Right about where
And I'm like, well, I don't know if this is the right person, so I'm gonna skip this.
Oh, yeah. So the way the soccer numbers work is seniors get first pick, and then everybody else gets their pick. So people come in with their numbers that they've gotten club in their high school or whatever, and they have to wait till their senior year to get it sometimes.
Anna's really consistent.
The more you know.
Nice. Good clean turn.
Tisha joining us in the chat. Next year's sweepstakes chairwoman, chair, whatever you want to use.
There goes Firefly.
Welcome. Also this past year's safety chair.
Ben, did you know chair is Latin for heathen?
Yes, just like alum, right?
To the 4 right there.
Great 3-4 transition by Pika.
Chair buggy. All right. Tisha, your sweepstakes chair buggy for next year.
To compete with SDC for today, they would need to probably be about 5 to 7
What if we
seconds
elected
faster
buggies
than
instead
where
of
they are
people?
right now.
And whoever was the driver that year had to beat that, had to play that role.
Could we not allow that buggy
Let's see what Megan Jade can do here on Hill 5.
It has
just only serve on sweepstakes? Because I would be very happy to vote all of that buggies are now in the race for that would be fantastic.
About this Hill 5, how quickly can they get across right?
Surely they just pull Rage out of storage and race it with all the pushers being younger than the buggy and do fine.
Rage lived.
326. Looks like they lost about a second right there.
So that actually puts them behind SDCB.
So I do want to point out, because I forgot to in the men's prelims, but the men's prelims was the first time ever that a men's prelims had 5 teams under 210. It is only the second time ever that it has happened. The first time was the 2009 men's finals. I'm pointing that out now because I just remembered, because the women's finals here, this is only the second time ever that 5 women's teams had broken 240 in the women's finals. The first time, unsurprisingly, also being 2009, when, even more impressively, the top 5 women's teams all broke 235. So, 2017, one of the fastest years ever, only bested by 2009, which still, to me, is the greatest race day of all time.
Yeah, and I guess a similar thing happened in that in 2008 the roads were paved, in 2016 the roads were paved. I guess the buggy teams took a year to adjust, basically. That's ridiculously fast year the year after that.
Wet roads, and I said then, look out for
Yeah, it certainly suggests that the year after roads are paved seems to be the fastest times. And I'm curious if that's, I mean, that may just be a recency bias, but also I'm curious if there's something to that, where the roads need time to settle in or something. So
Probably a lot of just the drivers get a lot more practice on a good shoot and stuff like that.
That's true. And 2016 did have all of the issues with the Hill 3 pickup.
19-second Hill 1 there puts her very close to Queen of the Hill with Pika.
Mary Garrett's Hill 1 here was actually slower in the finals than the prelims, but still way faster than others.
And she's just driving on her own.
Wow. Malice also just a great looking buggy when it's out there on the
So you have to wonder, because day one, I mean, SDC blew out the course record, like, you know, dropping it by 2 seconds on the women's side. And then day 2, they only improved it by a tenth of a second, which on both the men's and women's side. So, like, you start to wonder, are they reaching that peak? Like, can a women's team break 223?
I think they want to go sub 220 if they could.
I mean, it's funny.
I think if you have athletic enough people, realistically, there's a lot of improvements still to world-class, Olympic-class athletes.
I think it's more of a question of if that particular.
Nice and tight, looking great by both the drivers.
Am I cutting out?
You got cut off, Pia.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's more of a question of if that particular team can beat the record.
2 shove and just a 3 shove Hill 3. You love to see that when you get that much momentum. Nice transition into the 4.
Yeah, she picked up that buggy at about 1 minute 29 seconds.
Wow.
I mean, I guess if you look back, I mean, part of me wonders if you will get faster people than this FCC team. But I guess you could have said that 10, 15 years ago also, and thought the answer was no. And then people just continue to get faster and stronger and better at bugging.
Well, I think even with this exact team, they could have squeezed some time. I think they were probably a little shy about missing the push bar here on Hill 5.
Which I guess makes sense. I mean, they had just done that the year before, and they had such a big advantage over everyone else. Why risk it?
What the final timing is.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, like looking at that Hill 5, I'm sure she could shave like at least half a second just by pushing a little harder.
Coming across at 2:41. That's a really nice time out of them. So, ladies and gentlemen,
I would love to see
we're gonna get you the official time, but
a time machine where SBC A and B both get DQ'd for finals, and so SBC has no choice but to run their best team as an exhibition, where it no longer matters if they DQ, and just see what they can do.
And that's where they have the difference between all the other teams. When you see other teams.
Yeah, but usually exhibitions are also earlier in the day when it's a little bit colder. So, I don't know. No guarantee.
I'm using a time machine. I'll move their exhibitions at the end of the day.
Is amazing.
Although Lisa moved there on the hill too, CMU basketball player. She's got some size.
Push team together.
All right, skipping ahead to men's. We've made it.
Keeping an eye out for that.
We are almost there. Just 5 more races to go, and 1 more DQ.
And 1 more reroll, yeah.
Here comes the C squad as well.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. 6 more races to go.
Yeah.
Top 6 are able to get
1
trophies out of this, bragging rights, all that good stuff.
I don't know. I mean, look, I know there's CIA people on here. But I don't know. That's all I have to say. I don't know.
I'll have to watch it to see if it's the race that I think it is, but I remember suggesting something.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be interested in talking about why that's a reroll. And I know that I have a lot of people on here that are going to be interested in sharing their opinions as well.
Oh, yeah. That's why we do this.
I am fascinated by the fact that SBC-B and SBC-C went up against each other in both the men's and women's finals. And I realized the women's was actually a reroll and not technically the finals.
Correct.
But, I mean, the part of me wonders, like, does the C-team driver sit there and go like, man, why do I have to follow Bane all the time? Can't I just be in the lead for a change?
I'm pretty sure that's not the way they see it.
For those of you who may just be joining us here, sun's coming out.
Yeah, I get it. SBC is happy that they're racing against each other. But, like, is the driver?
Very small girl.
Like, come on, doesn't she want to win? And she's got to sit there this whole time watching Bane ahead of her? Like, if SBCC went up against someone else during this race, there's a decent chance she'd be ahead.
That's true.
Instead, I mean, look how far ahead Bane is. It probably feels like you're going super slow, at least until that, which is going to cost SBC 3 placings.
Very cleanly, rolling out.
And we'll see how that affects them there. Again, things very tight on that leaderboard.
I'd imagine they're probably pretty happy to roll. Although any drivers around, please share your opinion. All of us speaking have not driven, so we are in no position to comment on what it was like to drive. Look at those strides.
Putting my own words in the driver's mouths, I think that makes sense. I obviously know what all of them are thinking all the time.
Right.
That is quite the hill forward.
Yeah. Will really happy with how this guy
pushes. 18 last year.
That's right. It is kind of interesting how pushers will generally move up, you know, unless they find somebody to replace them in the better teams or the higher seeded teams. But drivers don't, because the driver, it's more based on the buggy than it is on the driving potentially. There are certainly outliers in that, but you'll tend to see buggies sit in A team, B team, C team sort of stuff, as opposed to drivers being the differentiator.
Really? I thought it would be the other way around. You would just move your driver to your 18 buggy, but
well, it depends on how they fit. I think most times, especially when they're like depending on who's driving at the time. Like if they join and they you already have an 18 driver who's in the best buggy, so there's like, well, the only buggy left that you can take is this one, and that one's a C team buggy. But you would hope that they could eventually move up in buggy, but the buggy will, I guess maybe that's the better one. The buggy tends to be what determines the team as opposed to the driver.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because we usually try to recruit for drivers that can fit in all of our buggies, and that the hope of as you get older you move up to the 18 buggy.
Sure.
But I think that also makes sense.
You guys have much more consistent buggies, I think, too, than other teams.
Super.
At least for my specific experience. CIA has very inconsistent shapes.
Still true.
Yeah. Oh yeah, still true.
Yeah, so just took it a little.
I guess the most consistent we were was when we were frame and shell, because they were literally, well, not literally, but nearly the same shell. Or the same frame. Anyway.
Fascinating how larger teams with a lot of buggies handle these things. Because I was reading, in going through some of these like old Rolls reports and stuff, I saw one. There was a comment like Pi had 2 drivers out, but there was only one buggy. So like, is that a sign that they're building? And like, how are they going to do this? And it's like, well, no, for Pi, like, it's not a driver per buggy, it's a driver per team. So like, you have one driver drive the men's seats and one in the women's seats, and that's drivers one buggy. That's just what we did.
That was an Apex strategy, and I think it still was for a little while, just because they had so many drivers and so few buggies. But now they've got enough buggies.
There's that 1-2 transition.
I forgot. That would have been nice. Having enough buggies where you could actually retire them for things other than permanent damage.
Over just under 28 seconds, so Sigep is hauling pretty well today.
Coming out in the free roll.
So this is CIAB's Tempest, as we saw in the prelims. That is the buggy in second place right now. As we saw in the prelims, Tempest had some issues with braking in the women's prelims, managed to successfully pass drops in the men's prelims, but as I also noted, a 9th place time is not where you want it to be in 2017, because Apex A's Firefly on the women's side was the only 9th place time to actually end up standing. CIAB's time here is going to put them in 9th, but then there are braking issues.
Especially off those front hills.
Yeah.
Really made up some time, and here comes Isaiah Edmond on hill 3.
Nice pickup.
CIAB really, impressed.
I also would like to point out, I don't know what hill this is, but I love that someone put in Will's pronunciation guide.
Like chickens a little bit behind him there.
That.
And you can see
yep.
here's a little bit where some of that
chickens like chickens, which is now just what Will calls him every time he pushes. I don't think it's in the pronunciation guide anymore, but he still does.
No, I've started taking those out. They confuse him too much.
Yeah, so Sabrina Wang, who was chair a couple of years after this, I think wrote the pronunciation guide for this. And originally she wrote it in like full IPA, like International Phonetic Alphabet.
Yep.
And I think they got it and they're like, we don't know how to read this. Can you like give us some sounds like pronunciations instead?
That was probably me, because I did most of those for the last however many years. And yeah, that's Will is usually reading them for the first time on air, for the most part, unless he's seen them in previous years. So trying to give him as easy as possible stuff to use. So that first year when we had all of the like this sort of stuff, he just read them out because that's what was in front of him. So we've had to do a little editing on those ahead of time.
Yeah, if we were professional broadcasters, I think that's a great idea, because professional broadcasters could probably read phonetic alphabet and phonetic pronunciation guides. But we're just regular people, and admittedly, if you taught me like my senior year, junior year. I forget what year. I took the nature of language at CMU, and it taught that. So if you caught me that year, I might have been able to read it, but that was a long time ago, and I can promise you, I do not remember any of it. I remember the phrase "glottal stop," and that's it.
It's okay. Joey enjoyed it.
So this is the contentious heat.
Oh, I'm sure he did. Yeah.
This is indeed the contentious heat. So for some background, all day before this heat, me and Kevin Wang, who is also on here now, we're running around trying to find a team who would swap with us because we knew our slow hill 1 was going to cause a problem at the top of the hill. But sweepstakes would not allow us to find a swap or would like split it out in a different heat. So we had to run it anyway.
I think we tried to switch with SIGEP A. Right?
Yeah, I think so.
But SIGEP A, if I remember correctly, at almost an exact same time as we did, and there was just not a good swap unless you swapped to face against SBCA, which also caused a problem. There was just like equal times in all 5 heats, so there was going to be a problem. If I remember correctly.
2017 heat selection was just an absolute nightmare all around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So throughout the shoot, you can talk to Ari, but she was rubbing her brakes, especially right here, to avoid hitting Pika.
Well, here she should
in hindsight,
Yeah.
In hindsight, we really should have. We told Ari that we wanted her to try to finish the race because we weren't sure we were going to get the reroll. Because all day we've been trying to convince sweepstakes that this heat's not safe. We should not run it, and sweepstakes would not let us not run the heat or like split out to like just 2 separate heats of solo buggies.
To be fair, Enosh did tell us to. He did tell me to hold the buggy, but I think I got like too greedy. I think part of it was we were talking about, oh, is there even going to be rerolls? I think part of it was like we were worried about like rain or something like that day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was definitely was a tough decision for us that day, and unfortunately it didn't work out for us. So it is what it is.
Because what ended up happening after this is that the backhill pushers became exhausted. So when they re-rolled, they all like slowed down. They weren't quite as fast as they were in this heat here, which was unfortunate for us. But
yeah,
how it is sometimes.
Rolls rarely ever are faster than
yeah.
That was my request. I was like, guys, don't re-roll it. It's not worth it.
You still ended up being like a full second faster though on the reroll.
Yes, because of the free roll. Ari is a good enough driver that she made up the time of the free roll. Even with all the pushers, like being a second slower, Ari was still faster in the free roll because she wasn't breaking all the way down.
And so you were like a second slower day 2 than you were day 1 your final time. Okay.
Yeah.
So Reed, if you were in the back of the truck, like, I'm curious, if you saw something that would have prompted you to believe that there could have been a viable reroll claim, would you have screamed from the back of the truck at all of your pushers, just like slow down, like jog it out?
We did see, that's when you saw the Pike B cut across in front of Equinox in that kind of by maybe the first turn by Panther Hollow. That's where we were, yes, like we knew that, but like you can't say that afterwards because the pushers can't hear you. They're running and they're pushing, right? You'd have to like call it in ahead of time to get that. So yes, in hindsight, like the only person who could have stopped it would have been Kevin on Hill 2. And we've talked about this and like, yeah, he should have held the buggy at Hill 2, but it's too exciting in the day to like stop.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so you only
I'm just trying to think of like, how we have like the Zello set up now. If now we have the like pusher buddies that go out with them to their hill. Zello to the pusher buddy being like, tell your pusher to slow down, we're gonna get a reroll.
No, I think now that you have that rerolls are automatic if you stop in the free roll, that all you do is tell your driver to stop, right? That's the right thing that should have been done. Whenever Ari braked for the first time, she should have just completely stopped.
Yeah.
This was the year that they started that we weren't sure it was going to happen.
Why they actually got the reroll when they seemed to have completed the race. If they stopped in the free roll, I would have understood the reroll decision, but I didn't agree with getting the reroll since they went full out. That had always been.
Okay.
Now, of course, the other argument here is why is that allowed as a reroll, which most alums, or older alums, I should say, are questioning because it is a race where you're against somebody else. So the fact that you have other people in the heat should be a consequence of it. Right.
So, like,
And
if you
yeah.
stop, it's for safety. But they didn't have to stop, so clearly it wasn't a safety issue. It was just a they got beat issue,
Right.
which was the point of people saying they shouldn't get a which that was my
Understandable.
personal view. And because we saw it again the next year with Spirit, they came to a complete stop, and it was just a reroll. Made sense because if you are saying a full stop is a reroll, that makes sense for safety because then it's incentivizing people to stop and try.
Yeah, but at the same time, those same alums would argue that it's like, well, no, that's the point is that it's a race and you got to make it up on the back hill. If you there's a strategy to getting over the hill first, even if you're the slower buggy. Now the argument being that sweepstakes should be more, would hopefully have the information to be more aware of those kinds of situations and avoid them at whatever cost. But we're only getting closer and closer together in times, so it's only going to be more and more of an issue as we go forward.
I think Josio did a really good job the year after this of making it clear what the rules were, what would get a reward, and what drivers should do in this specific situation.
That's a real important thing.
Shout out to Josio.
I think I will echo that. I think in recent years, like since then, sweepstakes has done a really good job, and I haven't seen quite as many tough things because drivers know they can stop now, and I think it's understood and they're told that. I think that's a really good thing for safety of the sport, that drivers know if you are in trouble, just brake, you'll get a reroll. And being consistent really, I think, has helped make drivers feel more comfortable.
Wait, sorry, this is unrelated. Ben, can you go back to the crosswalk? Because is this what you're talking about with Estes' thing where if you look at if you watch the clock as they hit the crosswalk,
the time to beat Sig Ep A of a 209.24.
The clock stops?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're talking about with Estes' timer thing?
So the clock stopping is not Estes' timer. Estes is not connected to the, or his system is not connected to the timing system. This was me working with the timing guys who run our timing system to try and get that clock stop. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So that's that system. That's the same one at the finish line that they're attempting to use to get that time.
Gotcha.
But we never have enough time ahead of time to actually, or ahead of the races to actually like work out where the locations of those would be. So it was sort of like it's about here. They're like, okay, we'll see what we can do. Also, the curve of the road, or the crown of the road, makes it really hard to get an accurate time, or an accurate point where you can time from.
I did have one other question though about the CIA race, which is if the CIA driver was tapping the brakes essentially throughout the free roll to avoid making contact. I mean, clearly by the time she hit the chute flag, she had hit the brakes a little harder because the gap kind of separated there.
Yep.
But up until then, she stayed pretty much even throughout, which makes me wonder if she didn't tap the brake, couldn't she have passed?
That's what I was
but you don't want to
hit the buggy.
He would not have been able to pass.
Yeah, I'm sure she would have hit the buggy in the same way that CIAB and Pike C collided in last year's races.
Yeah, they have about the same downhill time. If you would have tried to cut inside, like there could have been a potential chance you could have gotten side return, but that would have been a really, really, really dangerous path.
Let's see right here, we're crossing over 204, 205.
So if you look at our free roll time versus their free roll time, I'm pretty sure we, in terms of not having to deal with another driver's line, we would have probably had that. But I think part of it was, I think Ari was saying that she wasn't staying with the line that she had originally talked about during the driver walk in the beginning as well. Honestly, it was so long ago. Haven't really thought about this since then, but yeah, from what I remember, that's what we were talking about as well. And part of what we talked about to get a reroll as well.
Yes, that was the argument, was that she varied from her line that they went over the course walk. I know that came up. I wasn't on. I can't speak to it. but that
Just a
was
reminder
another
to
thing that
people on
did
the
come up
course,
during the
after
reroll
this
press.
race, you know, in the event that there are still rerolls, please stay
And
off
when we
the
took Ray out of
course.
the buggy, like, it just immediately was like, I want to reroll. First things she said.
More tall, naked men.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact discussion for giving the reroll. I don't remember it being that contentious among the members of sweepstakes, which was me, Enosh, Lena, and I forget who the assistant chair was this year.
Right.
I think Lena she wanted to be very liberal with giving free rolls or re-rolls for basically what could have ended up being dangerous free rolls or free roll passes. So I think that was pretty much that. And that was the direction that we had been moving after the 2016 SIG-Up Fringe collision, the 2015 SDC Spirit collision. Yeah, I think part of it was to make a point.
Great shove off there by SDCA. They didn't miss anything.
Just cut half a second.
I'm gonna pause real quick right here. Since we brought it up in the last one, you'll notice the tripods actually cross the crosswalk. It's diagonally across. So that was one of those things that we didn't really get a chance to work out with them.
Is that's Estes' thing, or that's the?
That's the time. Estes had taken down his thing by this point. It wasn't working, so he just cleaned it up and packed it up.
That's the number they're competing with.
Yep.
So I do want to quickly point out. So this obviously is the course record opening race. So we had this on virtual race day. I'm sure all of you have seen that, but if not, it's available on YouTube. I just quickly want to call out Spirit here, because this is Spirit's fastest race in 25 years. They had not been this fast since 1992, and yet they just get completely upstaged by SDC's course record.
No kidding.
So like, Spirit clearly on the rise at this point, and yet they look like they're running in mud.
Right. Comparatively.
That was an insane rollout. That was one push.
One bump to a shove. There is
I mean, Hill 4 in sunglasses. Like, does that, if he's not wearing those sunglasses, do they break 202?
No, he needed the cool.
Hey, a lot of Olympic runners wear sunglasses when they do sprints.
Although I'm pretty sure they're wearing different kinds of glasses, not flat.
Coming up very close to the line. We just crossed over 2 minutes. Hand on the push bar. 2:02.18 unofficially.
I have him faster. Yeah.
A new record. And
I can't
Spirit
imagine
coming
it makes
through
any
at a
difference.
2:09.36. We got to see what the official time is there. That could be second place time for them, though.
I believe this was the year that our push team got an email saying that we should not wear tights anymore during running. So there was, there's always a lot of comment.
Second place for Pike.
It was like an email from the alumni or what?
It was arm sleeves was the thing that people had an issue with.
Plus or minus a hair. SIG-Up A is a 2:09.24, so we got to look for
why would you not be allowed to wear?
Because this
it
is
was
gonna be some
not
excitement.
allowed.
A,
it was
did
that
they
was
break
the
their own
difference between
record?
us and
And then B,
SDC.
who's gonna be
You don't see them wear
third
arm
place?
sleeves.
I mean, the fact that they can
So this was the Pike alum complaining about the current Pike pushers wearing arm sleeves, or?
Yes. Yeah, that was the complaint. So I would put wearing glasses on Hill that category type of complaint.
And I haven't seen rollout like
Sounds about right.
King Eider, the bike.
Our Hill 4 in I think
that was
2018
one
got
push and they were
completely
already at
roasted
the
by our
transition.
alumni because he decided to wear a hat.
Absolutely insane.
Ridiculous.
So again, waiting on some.
In
of the
fairness, I did
final
complain
info,
on one of these broadcasts
CIA
about a
coming
guy
out
wearing
now. We're under
jorts,
1
or
minute.
were they jorts? I don't remember what they were wearing. They were wearing something that I didn't like, but I don't think I complained at the time. Just while we're sitting here, and now I'm grumpy in my apartment.
Jorts would be next level though.
Wait, SAU's worn jorts a few times, haven't they?
Yeah, SAU wears jorts almost every year. But
Oh no, you know what it was? It wasn't jorts. It was the American flag, like tighty whities.
We get a little bit of free Buggy.
Oh, I remember that.
Going to be the final roll of Raceday 2017. It's funny because Buggy's free.
But you're right. SAE has definitely worn shorts in the past.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hill 1. You see a lot of the teams sprinting after him.
That is a freakishly tall man.
There we go.
Man, Kevin, you're so tiny this year.
17-second there, stop sign time.
I have 18.6, which is second or more.
It's not bad.
That was Bobby.
Is this the year that infamous photo of Kevin is from? The one where he
No.
looks like he's
So this could be a problem.
No, that's
for
next
them.
year.
This
That's why I'm
okay.
small this year.
Yeah.
How many years did Kevin push?
4 total. I started my sophomore year.
It was. We used to just sit and watch CIA videos. Kevin and Hannah. That's how I would teach my hill too. And every single year, I'd be like, so they're probably not going to be here. They've been, and every single year, both were back. It was absolutely insane, just the consistency of two.
That's great to hear.
That's awesome.
Guys are the standard.
Thanks.
Well, for some at least. Kevin, question for you from the chat. Did you ever drive on race day, or was it just for rolls?
Oh no, I only drove I think twice on rolls. First time it was because we made a deal with Bobby that I would drive at least once if I got a. I would push if I got. I would push on race day if I got to drive at least once, and then this random day Bobby was like, "Hey Kevin, you want to drive again? We don't have enough drivers." I was like, "Hell yeah!" Like, of course.
I remember that day. That's one of the first photos I actually took like on my phone at Rolls because I was like, oh my god, there's someone that's almost as big as me getting in a buggy. Maybe my driver dream can come true.
But yeah, that was.
Wait, which buggy could you fit?
Impulse.
Yeah, the only one.
Okay, I should know that.
Yeah, it was. So I actually didn't get a roll one time because I think I was so heavy. I was like pushing down on the front wheel so much, and then it kind of like, or I think part of it was like the mechanic didn't put in the steering right, and then I was just dragging on the ground, and yeah, that was. I think after me they had to retire the buggy, right, because I damaged the buggy so much.
Unrelated.
So
it was for time to go.
It's funny you guys mention your dreams of driving, and there are a non-zero number of people who joined CIA because we had the biggest buggies, and that was their best chance of actually being a driver. At least a couple of our chairs in the past joined because it's like, oh, they have the bigger buggies. I could potentially drive that one. I know for a fact that was Erin Gans, who did actually get her dream of driving in Firebird.
Man, we should pull out the rear push bar video from that roll, Kevin. Where you have a camera pointing at the pushers and you can see them really suffering.
I made sure Ari came out that day to push me, so it was pretty great. Yeah, it was probably one of the best times I had at CMU.
No kidding. Awesome. Well, we're now 4 hours in. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, especially those that have been around this whole time. I'm hoping that this doesn't continue to be as long as they have been, but it's always a lot of fun to hear all the stories, and I hope you guys are all back next week for 2018. Any final thoughts? Anybody like to share?
Thanks, Ben, for powering through even though your computer didn't.
Only crashed once. Only once. It's not
Only
as bad
once.
as race day.
It's not as good as last week, but we're getting there.
Not as bad as 2014 rewatch when it was like 3 crashes.
Oh my god, yeah, that's right.
That was exceptional.
That was.
On a rolling 3-week average, we're still getting better.
All right, there we go. All
right, y'all. I'm significantly less excited for as I was for 2015, but take it easy.
See you, Willie. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for joining. We'll be back next week for 2018.
Bye.